Hey everyone, welcome back. We're diving into some big 401k changes coming in 2025.
Yeah, big changes.
Updates from the Secure 2.0 Act. Stuff that could really change your retirement savings.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking higher contribution limits,
Right.
part-time workers maybe getting a better deal, and even some curveballs for people inheriting 401ks. So, to help us break all this down, we have an expert.
That's me.
He thrives on helping people understand this stuff.
Well, it's true. These aren't just like small changes,
Right.
Understanding these is really important for anyone who wants to make the most of their retirement planning.
Oh, sure.
And that's where someone like John White,
President of Financial Guidepost?
yeah, president of Financial Guidepost, he can be super valuable, He helps people navigate all this complicated stuff.
Okay, so let's jump in. What's the first big change?
Well, for a lot of people, the first thing they're going to notice is the higher contribution limits.
Okay.
In 2025, if you're under 50, you can put away up to $23,500 in your 401k.
So that's up $500.
Yeah.
I mean, it might not seem like a lot
Exactly. Over time, though.
over time, right?
Yeah, just think about it. Like compounding over 20 or 30 years.
Yeah.
That extra $500 a year, that could be thousands of dollars more in your retirement account.
That's the kind of stuff John White really knows.
Oh, yeah. He's great at it.
Yeah.
He's great at finding those little things that add up to big results over time.
Okay, so now I know there are also changes to catch-up contributions. So that's for people 50 and older.
Right.
What's happening with those?
So most folks 50 and over, they're going to see their catch-up limit go up to $7,500.
Okay.
But here's where it gets kind of crazy. If you're between 60 and 63, you can contribute an extra $11,250.
Wow, that's a lot. Are there any, restrictions on that?
The main one is you got to earn at least that much,
Okay, that makes sense.
Look, if someone's trying to hit that $11,250 catch-up, they got to make sure their income is high enough. And that's something John White can really help with, He can walk you through different scenarios and help you figure out, a plan to max out those catch-up years, if that's what you want to do.
Right. Okay. Now, what about this whole automatic enrollment thing?
Oh, yeah. So new 401k plans, the ones that got started after December 28th, 2022,
Okay.
those are going to have to automatically enroll people starting in 2025. The idea is to help more people save for retirement,
So, money's just going to start disappearing from my paycheck.
Well, not just disappearing, but yeah, contributions are going to be taken out automatically.
Unless you opt out.
Exactly, unless you opt out. And the default rate, it depends,
Okay.
But they usually start somewhere between 3% and 10% of your salary.
Mm.
And then they, go up each year, up to 15%.
So it slowly increases.
Yeah, it gradually increases. And this is something John White is always talking about.
What's that?
The potential downside of this,
Oh.
People might just sort of accept that default rate
Right.
without ever really figuring out if it's right for them,
Like if it's actually enough.
Exactly. Or maybe it's too much and it puts them in a tough spot financially.
Oh, okay.
So that's why John always tells people, especially if they're new to 401ks, to schedule a consultation with him
Makes sense.
just to make sure they've got a plan that really works for them.
Okay, so we've got higher contribution limits, bigger catch-up contributions, and this automatic enrollment thing.
Yep.
What else should people know about?
Well, there's some good news for part-time workers.
Yep.
It's getting easier for them to save for retirement.
Nice.
So it used to be you needed 3 years in a row at a job, working 500 hours or more each year.
To qualify for a 401k.
Right, to even be eligible. But now it's only 2 years.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Yeah, a lot of people work part-time these days.
Right.
And it's great they're getting more access to retirement plans.
Awesome. All right, so now let's talk about something that can be kind of confusing.
Oh,
Inheriting a 401k.
okay.
I know there's been some clarification around this 10-year rule.
Right.
And honestly, I'm a little fuzzy on the details.
Yeah, it can be tricky.
Can you break that down for us?
Sure. So if you get a 401k from someone who's not your spouse,
Okay.
the IRS, they've clarified how this 10-year rule works.
Okay.
You see, before, a lot of people, they thought they could just wait.
Wait the whole 10 years.
Yeah, wait till the end of the 10 years and then take the money out
Okay.
and let it grow, tax sheltered,
Why?
But now,
They can't do that anymore.
well, you still got 10 years to take the money out, but here's the thing.
Okay.
You might have to start taking some money out each year.
What? Really?
Yeah, it's called required minimum distributions, or RMDs.
RMDs, got it.
And these RMDs, they're based on your life expectancy. So basically, you might have to start taking money out sooner than you thought.
Oh, okay. And that means you might have to pay taxes sooner, too.
Exactly.
Whoa, okay. That's complicated.
It definitely can be, which is why, like, if you're in the situation...
Inheriting a 401k.
Yeah, talk to a pro like John White.
Right.
He really knows this stuff inside and out, you know?
Yes, sir.
He can help you figure it out and maybe even, like, lower your taxes.
That's great.
Yeah, John's also a big fan of, like, rolling that inherited 401k into an IRA sometimes.
What does that mean?
Basically, it gives you more options and more control over your investments, you know?
Wow, okay. That is a lot to think about.
Yeah.
Sounds like having John White in your corner could be super helpful.
Oh, yeah, especially with something like this, you know? Inherited 401k, they can be tricky.
Right, it seems like it.
But John, he can give you the clarity and guidance you need to make good choices and not mess anything up.
Avoid those costly mistakes.
Exactly. So, as we can see, 2025 is bringing some big changes to 401ks, you know?
Big changes.
Lots to be excited about, especially those higher contribution limits.
Definitely.
But it's more important than ever to really understand the rules.
And how they affect you.
Yeah, exactly.
And it sounds like John White is the person to call if you want to, like, make sure you're not missing out on anything.
Oh, absolutely. He really knows his stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he's committed to helping people.
All right, well, I feel like we're just getting started here.
Oh, yeah, we've got a lot more to unpack. But we'll dive into the specifics in just a minute. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Okay, so we talked about the big changes, right? Contribution limits, catch-up contributions, that automatic enrollment thing.
Right.
But there are some smaller details you might miss if you're not careful.
Okay, so, like, what are we talking about here? What should people watch out for?
Well, take the higher contribution limits, for example. It's great. You can put more away,
Not bad.
but you got to figure out what makes sense for you financially, you know?
That's where John White comes in.
Exactly. John can help you figure out, like, how much you should really be contributing.
Okay.
He looks at your income, expenses, your goals.
It's personalized.
Right. Retirement planning isn't one size fits all.
That makes sense. Now, those supersized catch-up contributions for people 50 and older, any gotchas there?
Well, remember, you have to earn enough to actually take advantage of those higher limits.
So if someone's aiming for that $11,250 catch-up, they got to be making good money.
Yeah, exactly. And again, that's something John White can help you figure out.
Okay.
He can look at your income and see if you're on track to, like, max those out.
Got it. Now, automatic enrollment sounds good, but are there any downsides?
Yeah, the downside is people might just go with that default contribution rate.
The one they're automatically signed up for.
Right, and they might not even think about if it's the right amount for them.
So you're saying even though it's automatic, you should still be proactive.
Exactly. You got to check those rates and make sure they line up with your goals.
And if you're not sure...
Talk to John White. He can clear things up. Make sure you're not missing out on anything.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, so now let's talk about the part-time workers.
Yeah, they're getting easier access to 401ks, which is great.
It is great. Yeah. But are there, like, any details they should know about? Anything tricky?
Well, even though it's easier to qualify, employers still have some, like, leeway in how they set up their plans.
Okay.
So part-timers, they should definitely check with their employer.
To see how their specific plan works.
Right. Get all the details. And if they need help figuring it all out.
Or if they want advice on how to, like, get the most out of their plan.
John White is the guy to call. He's helped so many part-timers.
Yeah.
Make sure they're not missing any opportunities.
Okay, cool. Now let's talk about that 10-year rule for inherited 401k.
Oh, that's a tough one.
It is. It seems like that IRS clarification could really surprise some people.
Yeah, it could.
Can you tell us why it's so important?
Well, before, people thought they could just wait the whole 10 years.
To take the money out.
Right. And let it grow without paying taxes on it.
But now, because of this clarification...
Now they might have to take out some money each year, those RMDs.
Yeah, those RMDs. Could you explain, like, what those are and why they matter?
Sure. So RMD stands for Required Minimum Distribution. It's the minimum you got to take out of your retirement account every year.
Okay.
Usually it starts when you're 72, but with inherited accounts, it depends on how old you are.
Oh, okay.
Basically, the idea is to make sure you don't put off paying taxes forever.
Right.
And that you actually use the money eventually. But the thing is, if you have to take out more money because of these RMDs, you might end up paying more taxes.
Wow, that's tricky. You definitely want to have someone who knows what they're doing to help you with this.
Yeah, for sure. John White, he can help you figure out the RMD rules, figure out how much tax you might owe.
Okay.
And come up with a plan for taking the money out in a way that, like, minimizes your taxes.
That's awesome.
He can also help with other stuff, like rolling over the 401k into an IRA sometimes.
Right, we talked about that earlier.
It can give you more options, more flexibility.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So as we're seeing these 2025 changes, they're great, but they can be complicated.
It can be.
And it seems like having someone like John White on your side is really important.
Oh, it is. He can help you make smart choices, avoid those big mistakes, and make sure you're on the right track for retirement.
He sounds like a great resource. So let's get into some more practical stuff,
Okay, like what?
like tips and strategies for making the most of your 401k.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's give people some things they can actually do.
Right. So tip number 1, take advantage of employer matching contributions.
Oh, yeah, that's free money. You got to get that match if your employer offers it.
Seriously, don't miss out on that.
It's like an instant return on your investment.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer.
And if you're not sure how your company's matching works, talk to HR, or better that, call John White.
He can make sure you're getting everything you're entitled to.
Exactly. Okay, tip number 2, diversify.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Right, you got to spread your investments around, stocks, bonds, real estate, all that stuff.
Like a balanced meal for your portfolio.
I like that. And if you're not sure how to diversify your 401k, you know who to call.
John White.
Yep. He can put together a mix of investments that's right for you based on, like, your risk tolerance and your goals.
Awesome. All right, tip number 3, review your contributions regularly.
Oh, yeah, that's important. As you make more money, think about increasing how much you're putting in.
Even a little bit can make a big difference over time.
Right. And if you have a big life change, like you get married or have a kid, you might need to adjust things.
Definitely.
And guess what? John White can help you with that too. He can make sure your plans still make sense after a big life event.
Okay, great. Tip number 4, don't touch your 401k until you retire.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one. It's tempting, but it can really hurt your savings.
Taxes and penalties, right?
Exactly. Just leave it alone until you're actually retired.
Okay, got it. Last tip, tip number 5. When you change jobs, think about rolling over your 401k.
Oh, yeah, good point. It might make sense to move it into an IRA or into your new employer's plan.
So you can keep everything together.
Right. Just make sure you understand the rules before you do anything.
And John White can help you with that.
Of course. He can walk you through the whole process, make sure you don't make any mistakes.
Awesome. So there you have it. 5 tips for boosting your 401k savings.
Remember, even small steps can add up over time.
And with someone like John White guiding you.
You can feel confident about your retirement plan.
So as we keep exploring 401ks, let's shift gears a little bit.
Okay, what are we talking about now?
Let's talk about some final thoughts, some encouragements for our listeners. So we've covered a lot, but I don't want people to feel overwhelmed.
Yeah, me neither. It's about taking action.
So, like, if someone's listening and they're thinking, okay, this is great, but where do I start?
Simple answer.
Call John White.
Seriously.
Seriously. Like, today, just pick up the phone. That's the first step.
Like that saying, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but the second best time is today.
Exactly. John, he can help you figure out where you are now, where you want to be, and how to get there. It's like having a personalized roadmap for retirement.
That's a good way to put it.
And I think what's great about John is he really takes the time to understand each person.
Yeah, he gets it. Not everyone's the same.
Right. Okay, so let's talk about something that might be holding people back.
What's that?
Fear.
Oh, yeah, fear.
Fear of the unknown, fear of being judged, fear of messing up.
That's real.
How do we get past that?
Well, first, just admit you're scared.
Okay.
It's okay to be nervous about money stuff.
Right.
But don't let it stop you, you know? Everyone starts somewhere.
And there's no shame in asking for help.
Exactly. That's where John White comes in.
He's not going to judge you.
No way.
Yeah.
He's super approachable, really understanding.
He wants to help.
Yeah, he wants to teach you, help you feel good about your choices.
It's like having a financial therapist.
Aha, I like that. And remember, the more you know about your money, the less scary it is.
That's true.
John's really good at explaining things in a way that makes sense.
So basically, don't let fear win.
Right. Take control.
And John White can help you do that.
He's like a good friend, always giving you solid advice.
Okay, so now I want to touch on something else that's important.
What's that?
The emotional side of retirement.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just about numbers.
Right. It's about your life.
What do you want your retirement to look like?
Exactly. John gets that. He'll help you figure out what you want and then make a plan to get you there.
Like a retirement life coach.
I like that analogy. So yeah, retirement planning, it's not just about saving money.
It's about living a good life.
Exactly. And John White, he's all about helping people do both.
That's awesome. So if you're ready to take control, to build the retirement you've always dreamed of,
Right.
call John White at Financial Guideposts.
Today.
He's ready to help you make it happen.
He is.
All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into 401k and retirement planning.
It was fun.
We hope you learned something and that you're feeling motivated.
Motivated to take action.
Yeah. Remember, your future is in your hands.
You got this.
And with the right help, you can achieve anything you set your mind to.
Absolutely. And don't forget, John White's just a phone call away.
That's right. Until next time, happy saving.